Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fourth episode of the Empowering Partners for Improved Care Epic podcast. In each episode, you will hear informative interviews about patient, family, and staff engagement initiatives, including barriers and proven practices that may impact your own interventions. I, Jesse Cubillo, your patient engagement specialist for ESRD Network 3, will be your host. And today I have the honor of welcoming our guest, Rachel Lobruner. Got that right?
Perfect.
All right.
Hi.
She is a renal social worker covering multiple DaVita dialysis facilities in New Jersey. And together we're going to talk about her team's implementation of the Network 3 and dialysis facilities patient-to-patient mentoring program. And so, hi, Rachel. Thank you for joining me today and welcome to today's podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It's an honor. Rachel, could you start by sharing a little bit with the audience in regards to your experience as a renal social worker and what you've done in the past few years? That way we get to know you a little better.
Of course. So I started out fresh out of grad school in Pittsburgh, and I was a renal social worker in Pittsburgh, then North Philadelphia, and now in New Jersey.
Wow.
And then when I was in North Philadelphia, I was also on the board for the Council of Nephrology Social Workers in the Eastern PA chapter. And then I took a little bit of a break. I actually lived in Germany for the last couple of years, and now I am back here doing renal social work in New Jersey.
Wow, that is wealth of experience, and you've traveled the world too. And now we have you here. So should we do this presentation in German? I don't know any words in German. I do know Spanish, so maybe we could go back and forth German and Spanish and see where it goes.
Sounds good. My German is not great though.
Okay, let's stick to English then, and I'll speak some Spanglish here and there.
Perfect. I can work with that.
All right. So thank you. I'm very excited to have you in today's podcast. You and I were having a discussion recently about the work that you're doing with the patient mentoring program, and the one thing that I noticed in my conversation with you, and I highlighted as I was looking at my records, I realized that I was speaking to the one person who is my highest referrals. You have provided me with the highest referral number of patient mentees to the program. So you are very active in your facilities, you're promoting the program. And so I thought, what a better way to bring that knowledge, to bring that experience that you have imparted into patients and that patients have been able to benefit from and bring that to the world to hear, but maybe not the whole world, but maybe like the 10 listeners that we have being a part of this podcast. But I thought it would be a great idea to kind of share your initiatives and have you talk about that a little bit. So today we're going to cover three areas. We're going to kind of focus on those three areas, but it's going to be an open discussion about yours and the interdisciplinary teams and the patient's first impression of the patient-to-patient mentoring program, your facility's plan of action to promote the program, as well as lessons learned from those experiences. All right, so let's talk about what was your initial impression of the program when you first came across the program, when you were introduced. How did you come across the program, and that first impression of yours?
Of course. So first, hi to all the listeners. Welcome. I remember, so again, since I had been away the last couple of years, when I came back to DaVita, I remember seeing one of your emails and getting very enthusiastic about it. I just think it's a really good program, and I wanted to take that opportunity to advocate for the patient, for our patients, I should say. I'm happy to hear about it. I think that it can make a big difference. A lot of times, we can talk to people until we're blue in the face, but without having that firsthand experience, I think it can be difficult for us to really relate to patients in certain aspects. And I want people to always feel comfortable. So for me, it's just about giving people extra support and making sure being on dialysis is really difficult, very overwhelming. And I just want people to have additional support.
Yeah. So you mentioned you were excited about the program when you first saw my email. And I bet it's because these are things that are happening at the facility. Patient connections is something that's happening, but to actually have a program that you can have as a reference and say, hey, rather than just saying, to the patient, would you like to connect with the patient that may be at our facility or may be available to speak with you, or someone that's kind of like that leader at your facility, that patient leader? That's how it has been working in the past, where you have that, or a family member even, and say, we can connect you to that person if you like. Or in the lobby, that's how those patient engagement connections have happened. They're sitting in the lobby and they're just talking to one another and sharing that support with one another. But to actually see that there is a program geared towards connecting the patient to a mentor who has taken courses to be in the role that they're in and have gone through the process, I think that that's one of the exciting parts of having such a program, right?
Mhm.
So you were excited about, how was your team? What was your team's take on the program when you presented it to them?
Everybody was on board. We really advocate for our patients and we want everybody to just know everything that's out there. So
Mhm,
everybody in our team has been very supportive and also had the same type of enthusiasm that I've had.
mhm.
So we're all on board with it, and we always tell patients, we are here for you and we will always advocate for you, but if you need additional support, we want to make sure that they have it. And so our team has been very involved and supportive as well.
Great, great. So I'm gonna kind of go a little bit, maybe now that you both on board, you and your team are on board to promote the program. What was the plan of action? How did you guys decide this is how we're gonna go about it? Because my email basically gave you guys the resources, and I gave you some pointers as to maybe create a bulletin board and put the information up. But what was your personal take on, and your team's take on promoting the program and the approach that you have with the patients?
Of course. So what I find to be really helpful is I have a flyer in the lobby that talks about the program, but a lot of people don't read the flyers. So what I like to do is I go around to patients and I let them know about what the program is. And
Okay.
then I tell them about it. I talk about the network and everything that you all do. And then I ask people if they're computer savvy. I
Okay.
myself am not. So sometimes it can be nice to have someone show you the tools.
Yeah.
So what my plan is we're lucky that we have an iPad that we can use in the Center for Education. So I show the network's website where they have the list of the different peer mentors, and
Okay.
then I tell our patients all that I am asking is, because not everybody is going to have a connection with each person. So I want you to look through the different profiles and tell me who you feel will be a good fit for you.
Mhm.
And then I give them the iPad. I have everything set up. And then in the meantime, I go get the HIPAA consent and then that application, give
Okay.
them some time to look it over, answer any questions, go back. If they're interested, then I refer them.
All right. So let me quick that way those who are watching this video and the listeners as well can have an idea of what you're referring to. I'm gonna share my screen. That way they can be able to see exactly what you're talking about. And I think those are some of the more impactful interventions, not just giving the patient a flyer. Oftentimes, I did create the flyer because some patients are visuals. I need to be able to have something tangible and something I can refer to. But then going that step further, and now you have the iPad, and you're saying, "Hey, I know you're interested in home dialysis, you're interested in transplant, or you're a brand new patient to the facility, or you're struggling with X, Y, and Z." I think there's a group of patients that you can connect with and help you with what you're going through right now. It can help you make the connections that you're going through right now. Is that basically what your take has been?
Yes. So I have a whole spiel that I do.
Okay.
Um,
All right. Tell me before I jump. All right. Before I jump into the whole website, tell me what is that whole spiel that you? And I like the fact that you started with them by telling them about the network.
mhm.
So you give them like a brief intro of who the network is, what the purpose of the network is, I guess, and then you kind of jump in into. But I'll let you kind of talk about it. Go ahead. Tell me what your spiel is.
Exactly. So I always let people know everything that's out there. My whole philosophy is to give as much education as possible and then people tell me where they're at. So a lot of times when I'm meeting with somebody and if they're telling me they're feeling overwhelmed or they're scared and they're nervous and that they're interested in transplant but they're not really sure what to expect, or they're having a hard time adjusting to dialysis, or they're going to switch to a different modality, I just talk to them about, again, the Renal Network. And then I say the Renal Network has a program called Peer Mentors, where you can be mentored with a patient who's just like you, who's been on dialysis for several years, or who's had a transplant, or has switched modalities. They go through training that they become a patient mentor. And they're a really good resource just so you can have some additional support, alleviate some of those symptoms of anxiety, per se. So I tell them all about it. And then I gauge how people are feeling. Some patients aren't receptive, where other people would like more information. And for people who aren't receptive, which is perfectly fine, I let them know that it's always available for them if they ever need it. And I always remind people that we have our flyer posted in the lobby as well.
Yeah. So the flyer is basically like a reminder. If right now you're not ready, you haven't made up your mind about whether you want to connect or not. It's that constant reminder that this is available to you, and it's something that
Exactly.
they can reach out to the social worker or any staff at the facility and say, can you help me make that connection? And that's great. It's great to hear that you're not going to have, you know, I don't want facilities to also think that, oh, we have to give it to every patient and every patient is going to be referred to the program. That's not the goal of the program. The goal is that, just like you did, you identify those patients who maybe are dealing with some anxieties, and
Mm-hmm.
you're not able to make progress with those patients because of that anxiety that they're dealing with. Connecting them to a mentor, easing those anxieties, then opens the doors to talk about transplant, to talk about home
Mm-hmm.
dialysis, to talk about different modalities, or to talk about vaccinations or anything else that comes with those follow-up questions. Having that patient mentor, that, as you said, connecting them to the mentor might ease those anxieties and those concerns that they may have. So I think that's a great take on the way that you sell the program to the patients. And like I said, you are my number one number of referrals. And if we were a car dealership, I think we would be doing really good with you. You'll be our
Thank
top
you.
salesperson. We're not making any money with this, but you'll be our top salesperson. So I appreciate that. As you were talking about that, let me kind of show, and then you can kind of talk a lot about the process as I'm showing my screen. Let me do this here real quick, and that way people can see exactly what you were talking about. So if you go to our website, QIR, oh, hold on. Let me see, here we are, QIRN3.org, and I already have it automatically in there. You're able to come to our main website, and under ongoing projects, you just click on ongoing projects and scroll down to where it says peer mentoring. Right there is going to take you to our very first introduction page. And right here, patients are able to select whether they're interested in connecting with the patient mentor or becoming a patient mentor themselves. And the flyers, Rachel, the ones that you're making reference to, these are the flyers right here, correct? Let me
Mm-hmm.
have it open right here on this other screen. So these are the flyers that you have posted in the lobby and that you share with those patients, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah. Do they give you any questions? Do they present any questions to you when you give them this flyer?
So the flyer I actually just typically hang in the lobby. More of my conversation I would say is I just kind of go over it with them, and then I show them the website. I
Yeah,
find it, for my experience, I have more of a response when I just have that conversation as opposed to passing out a flyer.
got it. And then
For
what you show to them is this page right here, the patient to patient mentoring program, connecting with the patient mentor.
exactly.
And yeah, right here. And
Yeah.
this is where you're able to then select the topics right here on the top. You select the topics that are of interest
Mhm.
to the patient. And you say, look, navigate these profiles. There's a profile for each one of the patients. Some of them are bilingual as well. So if you have bilingual Spanish speaking patients, they can also connect to those patients. So I already opened this one just so that we can have it ready. And this is one of our mentors, and he shares about her experience. So I'm guessing, tell me a little bit. Do you, when you show them the profile, do you go over this stuff with them as well?
So typically what I do is, I either have them use the iPad or they use their phone, whatever they prefer. And then I just give them time to really think about it and for them to kind of decide on their own, because I never want anyone to feel pressured.
Yeah, yeah,
So That's my approach. I let them kind of navigate at their own pace, give them time, and if they have any questions, then I address it. But
Got it.
typically, they do this on their own, and then I give them some time, and then they let me know whenever they've made a decision.
Got it. Yeah, and it takes time. It's a way of them seeing these different faces, and these are all patients like themselves. And just being able to look at their profile, that's probably what they do, and look at their experiences, look at their hobbies and interests, something that's personal to them. And then when they click in here, they can also watch their introduction video that's on YouTube, and it gives them each mentor created a video specifically so that they can be able to connect with the mentor. And that's where they probably spend time. When you leave that iPad with them, they're spending time watching those videos and watching these profiles, that they can then identify a patient to make a connection with, and then take it from there. That's great. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can come back to us. With that being said, like, what are some of the benefits you foresee coming out of, I know this is like the early stages that you and your team are implementing these connections, but what are some of the foreseeable benefits that you foresee from these connections happening?
So I'm an optimist. What I see is I think just having that additional support
Mhm.
could hopefully alleviate symptoms of anxiety, alleviate symptoms of depression, hopefully improving treatment adherence, letting patients know when talking to another patient how important it is to come to their treatments, and then long-term benefit, hopefully reducing hospitalizations.
Mm,
That's kind of what I'm hoping. And I
yeah.
just think having a lot of our patients who might miss treatment because they're anxious or they don't want to come to treatment, and then talking to a peer mentor who can kind of give you that little push about the importance of it, push for transplant. My hope is really just to help people just get that support and talk about what's going on, and then having another mentor say, I felt this way too, and then this is what's been really helpful for me, and just kind of making that connection.
Yeah. I
That's
think
my
that's, yeah, that's definitely important because oftentimes we kind of focus on the bigger picture and thinking the bigger picture is reaching those goals that we
Mhm.
have, the facility goals, or whether it be that patient goal. It could be, I want to be able to achieve that transplant, I want to be able to make the transition to home. But if you are dealing with anxiety, if you're dealing with other things that are impeding you from being successful in your in-center treatment, then you're not going to be able to make those transitions. And for example, you talked about the perfect example, which I've seen with a lot of the patient cases that I've received, is cutting treatments, and
Mhm.
they try to make that connection and say to a mentor what the importance of those treatments are. If you really want to be able to achieve home dialysis, if you want to be able to achieve that transplant, not cutting your treatments, it's an important component of that, and avoiding those hospitalizations are the steps to then achieving the future goals that you have. And it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be just necessarily home or transplant. It could be something personal to them, something that they themselves identify as being of importance to them. And that's another topic. That's the My Dialysis Plan, which I've done another podcast for that, and talking about those goals and setting those goals. But there is all of this connects, and being able to set a foundation for identifying those immediate needs of the patient to then reach those later goals for the patient. And I think your strategy is one that's effective.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I mean, I did have a conversation with you as well about, so you're doing great with the mentees. What's going on with the mentors? Are you not able to identify? And you did refer one of the mentors to us as well. And let's talk about some of those challenges, because those are challenges facilities are also encountering with the mentors. Can you share a little bit about that?
I would be happy to. So I would say I have more patients that are receptive to being mentees and the mentors.
Mhm.
So typically for patients that I feel would be excellent mentors, or patients that have even expressed a little bit of interest, after speaking with them, they'll say, I'm not ready right now. I have a lot going on in my personal life, maybe one day, but I'm not there yet. I've had other patients that have been, and my patients I think are typically very honest with me, that they'll say, um, this is a goal that I want to have, but I'm not ready yet. So it's really just too many things going on in their personal life, not wanting to have additional responsibility, I would say, because they have so many responsibilities right now, busy with their dialysis schedule and everything else going on. I have a lot more, I would say more of our patients are receptive to being the mentees just
Yeah.
because they're new to dialysis, they're overwhelmed, they're want to get a transplant, but they really just want someone to talk to. I think it's more reception in that aspect,
Mhm.
if this is making sense.
No, definitely, yeah.
I bring it up a lot. I talk about it a lot and I always follow up, but I think a lot of our patients just have so many things going on.
Yeah, yeah. I had a conversation with another staff just actually today, and she asked me a question, and her question, she thought it was like not a big deal not a big deal, but not a big question. And her question was, does the patient have to be a mentee before they can become a mentor? And I
Mm,
said to her, that is a big question. That's an important question to ask. I mean, if that's the understanding that you're thinking that patients need to be a mentee before they can be a mentor, then that's another kind of barrier that you're putting for the patient to become a mentor. And that's not the case. Patients don't have to be mentees before they become mentors. So I said to them, I'll work with you guys, with the staff in completing the courses that the patients need to complete to become mentors. You talked about technology being a big hindrance for patients and
mhm,
being able to make accessibility to these resources that we have available for them, and you yourself having that iPad and giving it to them kind of helps overcome that barrier of the technology barrier. And iPads are so much easier to kind of just open the website and just you're right there navigating it. So the same thing is for mentors. There are many mentors who say, I want to be a mentor. And I think that's what happened with one of the two the mentors that you referred to us. I want to be a mentor, but then when it comes down to the technology part, when it comes down to the health part, those are barriers that every patient is going to deal with, and I try to work with them. I can work too much with the health component because that's something that they themselves are dealing with, and it'll delay the process. But the technology component, I'm able to help them with the courses. I'm able to get them register for the Kidney Learning Hub where they're going to complete the courses, taking the test, and on everything that comes with that. I help them along the way, and I've been successful in doing that for other providers. But I wanted to take the time today to talk about those exciting connections that are happening in your center. Any feedback that you've heard today? I know it's early on, but have you heard any feedback from your patients in those connections?
I have. So our patients that have already been paired with a mentor have reported that it's been very helpful for them.
Okay,
They're pretty enthusiastic and they'll talk about how, oh, this mentor has similar interests that as I do. And they said that it's been great. That's the basic outcome, or sorry, the typical response I hear is that it's been very great for them. You
good.
know, they feel like they can't talk to family, they can't talk to their friends, they don't have that support. So then getting this mentor, I think it's making a very big difference.
Nice, nice. And I think the bigger component here too is that these patients are sensitive to whatever that patient is going through,
Mhm.
and they are able to come down to that level and help them through the process, through those feelings, through those emotions that they're going through. So it's not just talking about a specific topic, but it's helping them navigate those emotions that they're dealing with, especially as a new patient, like you said. That it's new to them, and it's a lot of information all at once, and having that support helps out. All right, Rachel, anything else you would like to highlight? Maybe I missed something important that you want to bring up to everyone's knowledge.
I think you covered everything. I think the biggest thing is just talking about the barriers and how we can address them, and then making sure patients know what's out there and how other patients find it to be as far as helpful or any concerns that they have. But I think it's a really good program. I'm very passionate about it. I think it can be really helpful for our patients, and I recommend it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that recommendation, and keep doing those referrals. Keep connecting the patients. When you send me those applications, I take care of making those connections. One thing I forgot to mention actually is every time I receive an application, say from you or any other facility for a mentee, I touch base with the mentee first, which is your patient, because I want to be able to make sure that this is a patient that's answering their phone, that I've actually introduced myself to them before I introduce the mentor. I want to be able to say, hey, do you have the information that you need? Are you aware of what's going to happen? And kind of set the foundation now for that connection so that I receive the application, make those phone calls, reach out to the mentee. once I have established connection with the mentee, I kind of ask them, get a feel for what is it exactly that they want to talk about or they would like to receive support on. And then I then identify, if they haven't identified a mentor, I then reach out to our mentor and say, I have a patient who's interested in connecting with you, or I've identified a patient that matches with your criteria, and I'm able to connect that patient to you. Are you available? And then they'll give me the yes or no, and then I'll facilitate that. Then my next step is making sure that both of them know that this connection is going to happen. Send both of them an email, and include the facility staff as well, so that you guys are aware. And you've received these emails from me in the past as well, with the contact information to the mentor, the contact information to the mentee, and their emails as well. So there, if there's any exchange of emails, it happens with the knowledge of of the staff, and it happens with the knowledge of the network as well. And I think I had a facility who basically asked me at one point and said, "Do we really need to go through the network to make these connections?" And I said, ideally, you would want to be able to go through us, because it gives you that foundation that I have a process in place, and it helps you as well with making that connection. That it's not just left up in the air, but at the same time, it's a an established process that the mentor and the mentee both feel secure in a connection, that is not just a complete stranger that they're connecting with, that there are other professionals paying attention to what's going on. So it's not just a random patient connecting to another random patient, and we're just letting them be on their own, and not, you know where I'm going. Like, anything can happen in those connections. So we want to make sure that it's a safe environment and a safe connection for the two of them, and having them know that the social worker and the network are both paying attention to what's going on provides for a more safer grounds, if you want to call
Mhm.
it, right? And provides that sense of security for both the mentor and the mentee in those exchanges of contacts and exchanges of support. So yeah, thank you, and like I said, I look forward to hearing more in the future, as you mentioned short-term goals and the long-term goals that you foresee happening. It will be interesting to see some of those outcomes. So, well, Rachel, thank you so much. This is our time for today. I know we could speak more if we wanted to, but this is such valuable information. I always appreciate hearing directly from staff like yourself and from patients as well, and learn from your unique experiences, because I think every facility is going to have a unique experience. So I look forward maybe to even have future provide other staff and mentors themselves and mentees be a part of this discussion and kind of share their own experiences. But for now, we'll take the fact that you are my number one number of referrals, and hopefully you can hold that title for a little longer, before others now see this video and hear this podcast, and they themselves take the initiative to start promoting the program. So to our listeners out there, if you have any specific topics of interest, or you want to hear more about this, you have specific questions about this, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Or if you want to hear something else in a future podcast, send me an email as well at ycubillo@qualityinsights.org. Thank you all for listening to today's podcast, and stay tuned for future episodes. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you. Bye.